instead of being in the passenger seat of your acting career, you have to get in the driver's seat because life is too freaking short and we are replaceable.
Natalee Linez is a Californian native who moved to Los Angeles at the age of 20 to pursue her dream of acting. Linez's hard work and dedication paid off when she landed her first role as a series regular in hit series Siren. Alongside her acting, Natalee has also featured in the business world. She launched the mental health and well-being company Magic Mornings, which focuses on helping people improve their well-being through positive habits and routines. Like us, Natalee is a huge advocate for mental health and regularly shares and explores insights on mental health, wellness, and personal development. And we are delighted to talk to her today.
99% of our career, the auditioning. You have to love auditioning. Period.
Welcome, Natalee. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. Now, we've seen you on screen. We've listened to your podcast. One of the things I found most fascinating about you is your journey that I've heard you talk about, where you did 300 auditions before you booked your first role, and that role was something on your vision board.
Yes, don't remind me. 300 auditions. No, I was kidding. No, I love that part of my story. And I posted it recently on TikTok because I never had really shared a lot of my acting stories. And I was like, if anyone's feeling bad about themselves today, just remember that I went on 700 auditions and I've booked 14 of them. Like, that is my stat. But before I booked my very first role was 300. And that was a role on a show called Siren, which was on Freeform, which had been my dream network at the time, because when I was younger, I would watch like The Pretty Little Liars, Vampire Diaries, which I know is CW, but shows like that switched at birth, and I would watch them, and that's really where I became fascinated with like TV acting. I knew I wanted to act since I was 6 years old, but I never did theater or anything like that. So when I started watching, Wizard of Waverly Place when I was younger, and then eventually the more freeform young adult shows, I knew I wanted to do something like that. Because I aged out of Disney by the time I was able to start pursuing acting, because I could only start pursuing when I got my license and was able to drive up to LA by myself because my mom wasn't like a stage mom that was going to drive me up all the time. I'm from Orange County. So I'm super into vision boarding, and I printed the logo of my dream network, which at the time was Freeform, and I put it on my vision board along with my white Jeep that is parked right outside. And yeah, the first thing I ever booked was a Freeform show, Siren.
Straight into a recurring guest star, is it?
Straight into recurring. So, yeah, I had been auditioning for so long, and I never went the co-star route. I think I kind of found a rep team that was like, we kind of have a plan for you, and not that co-stars are bad or anything, but like, I never been on a co-star audition.
I was going to ask that. Do you see, when you say you never went that route, how do you not go that route? You just never went for those auditions?
Yeah, I think it was more, I was so young and green, and we can get into like how many reps I had before I ended up with my dream team, but I think it was just a decision that they had made that I didn't really know about because I wasn't as familiar with, like, I learned it all throughout, but I didn't know when I was 19, 20 what a co-star was necessarily. But I do know now that I never went on an audition that was a co-star. I think I just ended up with a team that they didn't really submit me on those because they couldn't make any money. And I think they just saw me as like, we know your trajectory, we know your goal is a series regular on CW Freeform, and we think that you can book a meaty guest star or something of that sort. And I mean, I might have booked something before those 300 auditions if I had gone on co-star, which could have been helpful because I had zero footage for 4 years of my auditioning. So they were strictly pitching me as like, just their client that they love. And then I'm sure they used a little bit of leverage with maybe a callback I had gotten or something like that. But that's why I say how important your reps are.
Did you say that you visualized that and you put that down specifically and you said, I want to be a series regular? And did that come from you, or did that happen as a discussion?
No, that did come from me. That's a good question, actually. The verbiage series regular. Yeah, I think I knew what that was. Yeah, I think I said series regular role. That's always been the dream. for a very, very long time. If anything, I said lead. Maybe.
And how does that look on a vision board? Because that's inherently visual.
Yeah, so now, because I vision board every single year, now I host these elaborate vision boarding events, and I buy stickers and magazines, obviously, and everything like that. And I put, like, I'll get a sticker with a 1-5, and to me that means 1 through 5 on the call sheet. So now I do that. I didn't do that in the beginning because I have all my vision boards still, and I don't see anything like that. But it might
You
be
might not
like
have even known what 1 through 5 on the call sheet meant back then.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
truly.
Was there a time in those 300 auditions where you're like, this sucks, I'm not going to do this?
Yes. I called my agent crying not long before I booked Siren. And I'm a pretty tough cookie, so she had no idea that I was like even feeling that way. And I was just like breaking down, and I was like, I've gone on so many auditions, and what would happen to me is I would prep them so well because they were in person. I mean, you could not.
In person. Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, you could
But
not.
you had to prep, didn't you?
Yeah.
You had to. You
You
had to. It's like doing a theatre.
Because otherwise, you get 2 reads done.
Yeah.
1, maybe.
2 reads if you're lucky. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so many times, even while I was prepped, I went in and it was just 1 read. And I think that's kind of what led to a lot of my breakdowns after auditions, because I would get so high off of this, like, so first you get the email with the audition. And like I said, my team was so great. And so they saw a lot of potential in me, which is they saw me as a developmental client, which is like, we know that you don't have any work behind you, but we'll develop you into what we think that you could be. And so I was getting these great auditions for series regulars and heavy recurrings, and I would prepare them so well and go in. So I would get the appointment in my email. I would get ready for my audition, like physically, like put my makeup and hair on after I had already prepped with a coach probably the day before. Drive 15 to 30 minutes to Warner Brothers, park on the 9th floor of the parking garage because you're a nobody, and you hike down because I'm scared of elevators. Be probably late because
Because the zebra crossing wasn't on the thing, and then get checking with the little security
Yes.
guard and the metal detector.
forget your ID in the car.
Go back to
So
9th
we have
floor
to
first.
go back to the 9th floor.
Sounds like you've done it as well. Smart.
Yes.
Yeah, I've done it on a job as well. I was late for a
I've done it.
job because I just didn't anticipate being on the 9th floor and being across the zebra crossing that goes once every 12 minutes.
Yeah, Warner Brothers, like the
Mm,
parking garage
mm.
across. Yeah. So between all of that, I was just like excited. Then, the first few times of doing that, you learn. And then I wasn't late because that's your job as an actor to be like, okay, now I understand how this goes. But so you do all that, you get in the room. There's 20 other girls that look exactly like you. You sign in and you're sitting there. You can hear the actor on the other side of the wall doing their scene. And you can't help, but I'm sorry, you're human, be like, ooh.
I've been there.
That's how they did that line.
Yeah, that's
Should
how
I
they
do
did-
that line?
Mhm.
That's better than
Yeah.
User choice.
Or that's worse.
That's
Judging like this person, like whatever it is. Either way, it's no good. So all of that, you finally get in the room, and 80% of the time I would do it once. And okay, thank you so much. And I think what would happen is my levels would just systematically, like, I would just get so down because I was so high, like on this hope of like, ooh, exciting new opportunity. That's what you're in LA for. And then I would leave and just be like crushed. So that happened a lot before I got my first like booking and callback and stuff.
What crushed you from that moment when you did one read and they said, thank you? What was it that crushed you?
That's
And I have a follow-up to that, depending
Yeah.
on what you say.
That's a really good question. I think, I was in LA alone, and I have no support from anyone, like financially or advice to go to or anything like that. So it's really, I was just so independent and felt so isolated. And I think when I would leave these rooms, my confidence would deplete because I didn't feel like that's how it was supposed to go in the room. I had like an expectation of like, oh, this will be fun, but it happened every single time. And every time I would have this hope of like, ooh, like maybe we'll do it multiple times or, and I don't think that it's bad if you do it once. There's no like statistic that says like, oh, you do it once, you're not booking it. But I think it was just a personal thing of feeling that insecurity when you're so young and you've had no bites and you just feel like nobody. You're just like, they don't care about me. You walk out and there's just a bunch of people lined up to do the same thing that you did, and you just really feel like you didn't book it.
A lot of people won't have had that experience now if they've started in the last few years because it'll be self-taste. But were you relating the doing it once to it not being good or it not being what they wanted? And have you ever, since now you've got more experience, have you ever done an audition once and booked it?
Yes.
That's what I wanted to get to because I used to think the same thing. And then
Yeah.
until I booked a couple of them after doing it once and thinking, oh, that once was enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was deeper than that too. It was like, yes, definitely equated it to like, I suck, right? But also, like I was saying earlier, it was just kind of this combination of like all of this. Again, I would get an audition and I would get like really excited. It was my livelihood. It was like everything to me. And then I would hire a coach. And then I would ask a friend to come over and run it with me. And then I would do my hair and makeup and pick out my outfit, drive, like all that stuff I was explaining. And then you get there and you're in there for 60 seconds. And so I think just atomically or whatever imbalances were going on, I was like, hi, 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 hi. And then like, that's it. And am I really going to book this series regular role when they didn't even like really look at me twice? You know, it was the feeling that happened. I'm not saying it was the case, but I didn't get callbacks for a really long time.
Now, playing devil advocate on that, if I'm on the other side of the coin and saying, so you had an agent that was sending you out on all these series regulars, you weren't getting callbacks, you weren't booking a job. What would you say to an actor that's sitting there going, how did you even get 300 auditions if you weren't getting, do you think,
yeah.
do you think you had it in inverted commas for anyone else listening? I'm doing the inverted commas. Do you think you had it? And what is it that your agent saw in you?
Yeah, that's a great question because the number one question I get asked now is, how do you get auditions? Like, and they're not saying that from like not knowing anything about acting. They're like, no, I've been repped before, I've been dropped before. How do you get auditions? So I think that I was getting good feedback from casting directors and I was growing as an actor because there were some self tapes. So my reps would see me act sometimes and they would watch my tapes in the beginning. And they would see that I was getting better and growing. And then I think when your reps should know that it takes a long time to develop a client and that it's going to take a few years before you get out of that greener than freaking Shrek stage of like, you have no idea what you're doing. And so I think I was lucky. Like, I believe that, you know, hard work plus preparation equals success equals luck. However, there is luck that plays roles in things. And so I think I did get lucky with my agent, who is absolutely incredible. And I can share the story of like how I got my team now. But I think it's a combination of all of it. I also was like, you know, extremely tunnel vision. And when I did have a rep that I believe wasn't doing that, I did drop them. So maybe that was part of it as well, of like not letting 4 years go by where I was with a team that deep down in my gut I knew wasn't like right for me in my career, which I believe is maybe a superpower I had at such a young age, because a lot of people are scared to fire their agent or manager, which makes complete sense, especially if you haven't worked, you don't have that confidence.
If I'm at home right now thinking, I resonate with this, I don't love my agent or manager, I should move on. Do you say to that person, find the new one before you get rid of the old one, or get rid of the old one to create the space for the new one?
I say get rid of the old one and create space for the new one. And I love the way that you put that. Create space and energy to open up yourself for a team that actually believes in you. Like,
Wait, but and then I'm going to have no auditions.
yeah. So, okay, but so I want you to, you said if I'm at home and I'm sitting there and I'm feeling like I want to drop my agent or manager, why are you feeling that way? Number one, clearly,
Because they don't get me in the way that your agents seem to get you.
well, comparison is going to be the death of anything. So don't compare it to me specifically. But if you are feeling in your gut that something's not right, my team hasn't responded to my emails. They haven't talked to me in 4 months. I sent them headshots and they didn't get back to me for 2 weeks. Or they responded and they were like, yeah, I like them all. Or I asked them to edit my reel and they said, just clip them all together. I like all the scenes. You can feel that as a human being, being like, like, oh man, that's not the response I wanted. So my first thing would be send them an email that says, so you're repped, right? But you're feeling a little iffy about it. Send them an email that says, hey, hope you're doing well. Super excited about 2025. I actually have some great goals that I created. I really want to get a meaty guest star, and I just finished doing this acting class and it was so much fun and blah, blah, blah. Okay. I'd love to share this with you. Love to catch up over coffee. We've actually never met in person because I got signed over Zoom. I'm being the person, right?
Yeah.
Because I got signed over Zoom. I would love to grab a coffee. Can you carve out an hour next week or within the next couple weeks for us to do that? You want your rep to see you and be able to tangibly be like, oh, this is the person that I'm picking up the phone and pitching to casting directors? Like, how are they supposed to do that if they are not paying attention to you, haven't seen you in months, won't pick up your call? So do that first. And if they do not even have the capacity to respond to your email, let alone carve out an hour for their client that they are supposedly pitching on auditions, then I think that is your answer and red flag right there of like, okay, I'm going to now send an email to them to drop them. And I mentor actors, and this is something that we talk about in our sessions all the time. And I have like templates for this and pitch email templates for new ones. But it's just a simple email that pretty much says, I'm going a different way in my career. This is for people that feel anxious about dropping someone without having anything under their belt. You just say, really appreciate the doors you have opened for me and what you've taught me. However, I am going a different direction at this time. Thank you. Another fun fact, if you are contractually bound to an agent or manager and you have never worked, it's okay to still let them go as an agent or manager. 99% of the time, they don't want you to be signed with them if you don't want to be signed with them. So if you send this email and there's no money involved, if you have not booked, why are they going to go out of their way to be like, I'm going to hire a lawyer?
And there's nothing on the table. It's not like you're in the mix for something that if you get it there, yeah. And by the way, if you were, then you still owe that agent.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly.
they procured it for you.
So don't feel like analysis paralysis because you signed a contract and all this stuff. I can talk for hours. Another thing is like, if you are newly signing with someone, ask them if they're down to like date for a few months and maybe don't sign something, like, hey, I think this is a really good fit. How do you feel about, pitching me on things and seeing how that feels for you and seeing if we get auditions together? Because then you don't have to sign anything and it's no pressure on either part. And maybe you guys can see how it goes first.
I think a lot of people are quite scared of their reps and the relationship that entails, and also casting. And there seems to be a hierarchy when people start out. What would you say to them?
Particularly in England and Europe, and
entirely.
say more so with newer actors in America, you get that more.
What would you say to them if they're coming to you for coaching or?
Yeah, it's so true. I think that you have to build confidence. Everyone has to start somewhere. So I did it from a very ground up approach, obviously having absolutely nothing. And we still haven't even really talked about the times where I did get let go of agents and I had to let go of agents. But it's tough because we want a job and we want to be liked and we want to people please. Actors are people pleasers. So I like to say, like, instead of being in the passenger seat of your acting career, you have to get in the driver's seat because life is too freaking short and we are replaceable. And there are actually a lot of agents and managers out there. So if you are feeling like scared of your one, team member, I would actually be curious to ask ChatGPT how many agents and managers exist in America, but you're signed with one that you're not jiving with. It's like, get the confidence to really be like, you know what? I'm tired of waiting around and
For the
Darren's
listeners
looking it up.
here, Darren's just looking up on ChatGPT right now. How many minutes? Carry on going. I'll tell you the answer when I get.
Get in that driver's seat and take control of your career. A lot of people come to me and they're like, this is in my heart. I've tried to quit it. I can't. I really love it. I want to continue to pursue it. And I say back to them, okay, what would you say if I told you that you are sitting in the back seat or the passenger seat of your freaking acting career right now, and you have to get in the driver's seat and you've been going right this whole time? I need you to go left.
Do you see that when someone, are you like, oh my gosh, it's very obvious they're sitting in the back seat? Or is that something you do? You're nodding.
Well, they would have to express it to me. I like to hear their story, what their current situation with their reps are, what their experience has been, how long they've been pursuing it. When did you plant the seed? Because, they say it takes 10 years. It definitely did for me. So.
But you're an overnight success, weren't you?
Yeah, exactly. You know it.
No, by the way, you got one of the 19,900 agents in the US.
Oh my God, you guys, you heard it here. I bet you never knew that fact.
Yeah.
19,900. So the only thing I would say is another thing I tell my clients is just make sure they're reputable. Find them on IMDb Pro. Make sure that they have a few clients that have booked a couple things. You don't want Joe Schmo, because that will lead you down a path of weird auditions and creepy casting rooms and months of not booking.
Oh my gosh. So how did you qualify? Well, I got to tell you this story because on that note, when I first moved to America, I had a film in a festival in San Jose Film Festival. It's a film that I've made in England. Is in the festival. Went up there, and this guy approached me afterwards with his business card. He had a white Elvis-style suit on, with a white brimmed hat and a blue satin shirt with the collars out and crocodile shoes on. And I'm not going to say his name in case he's still active, but he gave me his business card. He's like, I think you got what it takes, kid. I want to sign you on. Joe Schmo, that was his name.
Yeah.
He was a Joe Schmo for sure.
Yeah.
And he gave me a business card and it said his name, talent manager, / painter and decorator, / something, personal chauffeur. And then I'd flip the card over on the back side. It said, business cards are free at vistaprint.com. And I was like, this guy
funny.
started calling me back in Hollywood, and he had this strategy where he'd call me 11 p.m. and be like, listen, have you thought about it, kid? I'm going to make you a big star. And I was like, it would just make, because I'd been in the industry in England for a bit. It's just making my skin crawl.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something though, with all of my experience in another country, there was still a little piece of me that's like, is this guy sure?
Yeah.
Even with all those red flags.
I know. I think it's important though that you
I took the phone calls.
Yeah. Because you have to learn. You have to you have to do it.
I didn't sign with him, but I not considered it, but I heard him out.
I don't want you to feel bad if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, I did sign with that agent from the showcase that wanted to sign me. And then I felt the red flag from the beginning because they said that they only do non-union, but I'm a union actor, whatever. Because you have to go through that where you get with the people, and then, a prerequisite to a dream team is being with people who have fired you or you've fired.
Back to that dating analogy, when you've had a couple of bad boyfriends or bad girlfriends, whatever that means to you, the next one you go, oh, don't want that red flag.
Yep, exactly. You learn from it.
Yeah.
If you'd like to join the We Audition community, go to weaudition.com/show to get 25% off. Now, back to the show.
We were talking about mental health, and we also touched on vision boards. You do some other mental health stuff as well. Tell us about magic.
So I created magic when I was filming Siren, because another great thing that we can talk about is being a whole human being while pursuing acting.
Is that possible?
Yeah, seriously. It's true. It takes a lot of time and energy. But I was filming in Vancouver and I was flying back and forth for 8 months. And I had so much downtime. And I was like, oh my God, here I am. And I was really happy. I was really excited to be there, but you have like days, weeks off, and you're, not in your country, let alone like, space and your friends and everything like that. So it can become isolating and lonely. And like the cast was, I think, a little bit maybe older than me and had like partners and stuff like that. It wasn't like a young ensemble where we were hanging out all the time. So I had a lot of downtime, and I really found myself gravitating towards like listening to podcasts and reading books on spirituality. And I was really fascinating with like high performance habits. And I discovered one thing that all of these high performers had in common, which was a morning routine. And I became fascinated by it. And I was like, wow, why does Oprah and Kobe Bryant and all of these iconic people have morning routines? Like, I don't want to have a morning routine. So I started combining some of these things that I've learned from these prolific people. And I ended up coming up with my own morning routine, which had to do with mindfulness, gratitude, affirming myself, setting goals. So that became meditation, affirmations, gratitude, and intentions. I came back from filming Siren, and I was at home, and I was on a stint of no work, and probably feeling a little bit down. I don't like recall really what I was going through, but I'm guessing I wasn't working coming off this high of being on a show. I had quit my restaurant job. So I was really trying to discover something to like, fill that void, I guess. And so I wrote down on a piece of paper, like M for magic, AGI, and it spelled Maggie. And I was like, Maggie, morning routine. And I remember thinking like, I wish my name was Maggie. I was like, I would invent this right now. I was like, I would make this like a huge thing. So I called my girlfriend, and I'm like, I came up with this great morning routine. And she was like, well, you're obsessed with coffee.
I
Everyone
see where
knows-
this is going.
Everyone knows
I
you.
need it.
Yeah.
What begins?
Yeah.
Oh.
Everyone knows you're obsessed with coffee. Why don't you call it magic and put C at the end?
See, we're British, so ours would be Majit.
Really?
I'm drinking a coffee right now, but we are renowned for tea, aren't we?
Oh, tea.
Yeah,
Magic. Yeah.
I guarantee you, in the creation of We Audition, there was more cups of tea drunk than agents in the US.
Ah, wow. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Are those
That's a
teas?
low.
no, but we live in America now.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I took it and I ran with it, and I started posting on social media, and people were like loving it. Just
It makes sense.
women that I
It's got
just knew.
a spark.
Yeah.
It's got magic. It's got.
Well, and
magic.
it's simple to understand and implement.
Yes.
And learn.
Yes. And the C is really a metaphor, coffee, for taking action, because you can meditate, affirm, and state your gratitude all you want. But if you're not setting intentions and then, taking action on those intentions, then nothing's going to manifest. So I did magic every single morning for many, many years, and I still do to this day. I have so many journals filled out.
Spell out how early you imagine your morning. How does that work?
Yeah, talk us through your morning.
So I wake up I used to wake up. I used to be in the 5 a.m. club. I read the book, 5 a.m. Club. I loved it. If you're looking for a new fun read, spiritual read, motivating read, love that book. So I read that, and I was like so high on it. And I would really wake up at 5 a.m. every single day, and I would do magic. I would move my body. So either go on a run or do yoga, and then read every morning for 30, 40, 50 minutes every morning.
I love doing that. I love both the working out and the reading.
Oh, it's a game changer.
And of course, listening to Ground Up with Natalee.
Yeah,
on the treadmill.
every morning.
Good.
Yeah, on the treadmill. I love it. But seriously, or listening to a podcast. Like if you're not a reader, I'm not telling you like, oh, you have to create the habit of reading. But listening to podcasts, I don't know, they've like changed my life. I love it. Learning so much. I didn't go to college, so,
Well, I also think as an actor, as a skill for an actor, just learning new things helps us be new characters or put that into our characters. You've got to learn about that first amount of subjects. One day, why not listen to a legal podcast? You might be playing a lawyer at some point.
Yeah, exactly. I'm playing a therapist right now on Chicago PD. And
Yes, you are.
And I've listened to a lot of health and wellness, mental health, having therapists come on these, Jay Shetty or Diary of a CEO podcast, and
Two of our
learned a lot.
favorites.
Yeah, two of my favorites
Yeah,
too.
our favorites. Yeah.
Yeah. So good. Oh my God. Oh yeah,
Shout
Diary
out
of
to
a CEO.
Stephen Barber. Stephen, we don't know each other.
Have us on. Yeah,
we,
exactly.
we have mutual friends. So one day Stephen will have us on. He'll
Let's-
come on ours.
Let's manifest it right now.
Okay, let's do that. No, seriously.
I will be a guest on Diary of a CEO.
I will have Stephen on this podcast. You? Yeah, great. All right. I'm just gonna hijack our manifestations. No, sorry, do I need to do this as well? No, that was like a seance. Oh. They're all still alive.
He did it in his head.
Process to put
He
your hand
did
on
it.
his
No.
head. What are you manifesting? His manifest to be on Diary of a CEO, which I personally would love to do, but she already took that one.
So you want to have him on yours?
I want to have him on
Great.
this show.
You want to have Stephen on this show?
Stephen on this show.
Oh my God, it'd be incredible.
What's the question?
You want to meet him?
What's your manifest something right now?
Oh,
In the vein of what we're talking about. It might be about Stephen as well. Then right, that way the amount of
You want to get coffee with Stephen and pick his brain.
the amount of times we've mentioned him. For anyone that doesn't know, because we might have glossed over that, the podcast is called The Diary of a CEO. He is a famous established CEO from England, but the guests he has on, I really highly recommend actors to listen to, because it's a vast array of things for health, wellness, mindset, building
Science.
business, science. There's everything you will discover in there and make you a richer human being.
He's also a fantastic host.
Yeah, he asks all the questions you want to ask.
Goals. But
Yeah.
he's so good at it too.
Yeah.
So that used to be my really dating morning routine for a really long time. Now I wake up a little later, maybe 6:15, 6:20.
That's pretty late. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Go to bed early.
God,
You have
very
to.
early.
Yeah, because I was going to say, because there's the 5 a.m. club was, and all the stuff that surrounds that, early rising. I love early rising. I think it's one of the most beautiful times in the day. But then counteracting to that, there's a lot of sleep science.
Yes.
It is not that kind of live fast, die young kind of thing. And, I survive great on 4 hours sleep. No
Yeah,
one
yeah, no.
survives great on 4 hours
Mm-mm.
sleep. And you'll pay for it later in life for sure, if you can.
I don't
9
comprehend.
p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
9 p.m. Mm-hmm.
So
9,
you're going out at the
9:30.
club.
No. DJ, bed, club, pillow.
What do you think about that? What do you think about going out, meeting people, partying? Actors do it a lot, don't they?
Yeah, I would say so.
Is it good to do?
I mean, I moved here so early, and I really did have two routes I could have gone down, because I was young, and I did have friends here and stuff like that. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just God was like, whatever that thing that was put in me that was like tunnel vision on this freaking goal of becoming an actor, and going out on the weekends and getting drunk just like did not fall into that coming to fruition. And it was like so important to me that happened. So I think it was like really easy for me to say no to going out. Also, I just don't like, I'm very healthy, so I don't like to, go out and drink. I get sick the next day. I hate not being productive and being able to wake up and feel good.
What about industry events, though?
Yeah.
No, not just. I'm not just talking about a bar or a club, but an industry event in the evening.
So I'll share my like unique perspective on this, because I think that everyone has their own, and that's great. But for me, because I can only speak from my experiences, I've never met someone out at any sort of event that has given me any sort of opportunity that is worth talking about, or that has gotten me a role on anything, especially as a woman. Like, any single male that I were to quote unquote speak to at an event that wants to give me a role or an audition, they're going to want something from me. So why put myself in that position? I hate like, dangling over my head or someone pulling it out from me. I like to be in control in that way. So, I never did that. Also, another thing I will say is booking a role on TV and film, there's so many cooks in the kitchen. So if you don't like networking, but you think that it's going to be good for you, I don't think that you should worry about going out and doing that, because let's say you do meet someone and they're like, hey, yeah, I really like you for this. Okay, you send them a tape, they have to get it approved by 1,000,000 people before you even book it anyways. So why not go the route of like, I'm going to get in front of the casting director and then they're going to send it to the producers, who's going to send it to directors, who's going to send it to studio, who's going to send it to network. So that's the route I've always taken. Now, after having so many clients, you know, through my acting mentorship, they tell me stories of how they've met some people or DM'd a casting director for something and ended up getting an audition. So I'm not saying, you know, don't do it, but I would say energetically, I wouldn't put all your time and worry so much about networking and everyone's telling me to network and I need to market myself.
There's no right thing to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as I say, it can be part of your strategy or toolbox, right? But not the.
It could be part of it for sure. I also think like, what are your goals? Because if your goal is to be a series regular on a Netflix show, I mean, you're not gonna get that by going to a bunch of networking events. It's physically not. It's just that's like 1 in 1,000,000, unless you're a nepotism baby or something.
You're not going
like
to get
that.
that from going to a party either. Let's be honest.
And I think I have seen a big swing with younger people really appreciating mental health
Mhm.
and looking after themselves and putting in the work.
Yeah.
And back in the day, I think, you know, you could be out on the party scene late and it could be rock and roll and gigs could be everywhere. But
True.
I don't think that is true anymore.
That's true. That is true.
And also, if I was hiring that, I look back over myself when I first got here, and I was like, I do appreciate that I had to make friends. I had to like fix. I'm away from my home country.
Yes.
But when I look back, I'm like, what could I have done differently? Did it a bit less.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have not done it because I have great friends, great relationships, business relationships. Like I did meet agents and managers that I
Yeah.
signed with in social situations, but did I need to do as much?
So that can happen over coffee in the morning. That can happen over lunch.
It is,
Well, it doesn't
and
happen.
it
doesn't.
and it did. So when I say socializing, I mean all those aspects.
Yeah.
But the one thing I think I now look back and go, if I was hiring, do I want to hire the guy that I saw everything that week? Hell
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because that guy's going to be out every night of the week
Yeah.
when he's on my show.
Yeah. So maybe something productive could be like, well, this is actually what I've been saying is like, and the method, I guess I'll call it, that I teach is like pitch emails and finding agents and managers through IMDb Pro.
Tools for a pitch email. That's exciting.
Oh, what?
How do you do a pitch email?
Okay, so first thing you're going to do is you are going to, all right, guys, this is a free session with me.
Here we go.
Okay.
Buckle up. Value
So,
from Natalee.
The first thing you're going to do is, okay, you're going to get your materials together. The most important thing, there's 2 of the most important 3. So there's the headshot, resume, reel. Most important is your headshot and reel, in my opinion. So don't stress about your resume. Look up a acting resume and format it in that way. And your headshot needs to be and in my sessions, I send you like vibes that I think are great for headshots. Lighting and clean, timeless shots. I have like a collage of photos that I'm like,
Different for different types, or just a good headshot
Yeah,
is a good headshot.
difference for different types. But I think for a lot of people that I've worked with, which is mostly women or girls, I'm a girl. I don't know, but like of all ages, like, you know, 20 to 40, 20 to 50, and they're all having similar goals. They want to be on network television shows or streaming shows. They want to be guest stars, recurrings, leads. I'm sorry, but unless it's commercial acting, all you need is a great shot of you that is timeless, beautiful, no matter even if you're beautifully charactery or whatever, but it needs to look great. The lighting needs to be good, and it needs to showcase the type of character. But I want to say that lightly because I don't want you to go put on
A lab coat.
a lab coat, even glasses, unless you are. I had a client today, she wears glasses, and I'm like, definitely, you know, wear glasses in one of your shots for sure, but don't add it if you don't already wear it.
Yeah, like the amount of shots I see of people with I'm the nerdy person. Well, nerds don't necessarily wear glasses.
Yeah, exactly. So get this together, and you only need, when you go to headshot sessions, you don't need 4, 5, 6, 7 looks. You need 1 to 2, especially if you're feeling stuck or you're just starting or something like that, because your agent and manager is going to change that anyways. So spend a few $100s. There's so many in LA. that will give you great shots for a few $100s, but don't call your friend from class where they take you to the side street and the lighting is orange and it doesn't look good. You got to look at their work and make sure that it actually looks decent. Doesn't mean you need to spend $1,200. So anyways, get that great headshot where an agent or manager is going to open this email and go, okay, this looks like she can be a leading lady. Even if you're not the leading lady type, if you want to be top 10, that is leading for a show, an HBO show. So make sure your headshot looks good. Then you have your reel. Okay, so this is all in my opinion, right? This is not facts. This is just what I believe. Now, your reel, if you do not have any footage, you are going to put yourself on tape, a self-tape with a great setup, and you are going to find a scene from a show that really encapsulates your type. Another thing I give you in my mentorship sessions are self-discovery worksheets where it can really funnel you into the types you want to play, because being put in a box has such a negative connotation when actually it's a good thing.
Great thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
For a start of a career.
You want to put yourself in 10 boxes rather than 10,000. So it's narrowing it down of like, okay, these are the type of roles that I want to play. And don't be delusional with yourself. Be real. Like, what do I enjoy playing? And what can I see myself playing? Am I the fast-talking stoner, type B, like not put together really, whatever? Like, own that. That's great. There are so many shows that have those characters in them. Am I deadpan? Am I popular cheerleader? Great. So you find that scene that really encapsulates who you are. I like to say do something current if you can, and what you can do secretly in the email. I hope agents and managers don't get mad at me, but I always tell my clients to put like, below is a recent self-tape for Tell Me Lies, whatever the show is. Is that a self-tape because you got an audition for it? Or is it just a self-tape that you put on tape? Who knows? But it might clock the agent and manager of like, oh, they're in the know. It's something casting currently. So, oh, they must have either just been signed, or did the casting director, how did they get that audition? But they also maybe won't think too deeply into it. They'll just be like, oh, cool.
But if you've got a reel already, a lot of our listeners will already have a few bits, at least.
Yeah, so
up to like many of our listeners are very established.
Yes.
But you've got a reel. Would you put the reel instead of a self-tape? You're not suggesting.
Yes.
So that's only for a newer person that has no
so
tape.
a newer person, put yourself a great tape, blah, blah, blah. Please see below for a recent self-tape. And they can click on that. Don't put your Actors Access link in there, because what happens is you click on it and it's all this information in front of them, right? It's like everyone has ADD these days, even agents and managers. They're just like us. So you give them they click on this. They have 12 photos sitting there of ones that you've uploaded over the last 5 years that are your character photos, and they're this, that, the other. Now they have an option to be swayed in one direction. Too much.
Yeah.
You have your 4 demo reels on there, which one to click on. You have all your special skills, all your things that you've done. So I always recommend doing, please see my tape here, and then your headshot is in the email. They're going to look at the headshot.
It's like a little fishing hook. You give them a little something to bite on to ask for more, right?
Exactly.
We were talking about something very similar for our business actually this week. But regarding types, it's somewhat of a winner takes all business, isn't it? I mean, a role will only go to one person. So it's not a good idea to be almost very good, almost quite good at every single role in the world. You be better than the best at one niche.
Yeah, exactly. Like another thing I always tell my clients, I'm like, okay, we're actors. We can act and do anything. That's what everyone says. Like they think it's so unique that they can play every role. And it's like, we all
It's
can.
not rep theatre anymore, is it?
It's not what?
Rep theatre where everyone's doing every role every week and you're doing a different show every week. People are
specificity,
authenticity and specificity.
Yeah,
for sure.
And hone in on your special sauce and your skill. Like,
that'll be your magic.
Yes, exactly. That's what you're bringing to every role. I'm sorry, but unless you're a method actor, you are bringing yourself to every role in the given circumstance, in the given genre. But I do want to say, like, if you have a reel, you're going to add that, but make sure it's a good reel. I've had some of my clients where I'm like, hey, I noticed that you paid to get your reel made, or you did a student film. This quality doesn't look that great, and the actor acting opposite you isn't that great. So I would recommend doing a really great self-tape, because agents and managers are so used to seeing tapes these days, because our tapes are going all the way to network. So by you submitting a tape in their inboxes, it isn't like, oh, wow, blue background, they think that they're it's like, that's how people are booking
Yeah.
these days.
Right. So let's drill down on that, because I mean, I advised a young actor friend of mine the other day. He sent me his reel and said, "Do you have any advice?" And I said to him, "Yeah, get rid of the first 3 scenes. Put this scene up front."
Yeah.
And then his reply was, he took it on board, but his reply was, "And do you think I should put the other scenes at the end?" I said, "No, you should take them off." He said, "But then my reel will be really short." And I simply said to him, "My opinion, look, having seen thousands of reels, you are a good actor in these 2 scenes.
Yeah.
These 3 scenes do you no justice." Not because his acting was particularly bad, it was not as good as the other bits.
Yeah.
And so was the production value. I said, "You're doing yourself a disservice.
Yes.
Short is
We see it
better
a lot on Audition.
short is better than a bunch of stuff that does you a little bit of a disservice."
Yeah.
That's
Eh,
what the
agree with that?
resume is for, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Done.
I
And
agree.
then some other things, again, please tell me if you have a difference of opinion on this, but the amount of reels I see where someone's done a scene with a famous person, they start on the famous person versus themselves. Or even more, the famous person scene, I have one line opposite Denzel when I say
Right.
coffee, Denzel. Then I've got an absolutely fantastic scene from Siren, but I go, oh, Denzel's Denzel.
Yeah.
Would you put the fantastic scene from Siren first?
Well, I would do my line. I would just do me and Denzel, if I love that, the line,
Right.
that you say. And unless it's like, your order, sir, then maybe I wouldn't put that first.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
If that's
yeah.
opposite Denzel, and then you have a great piece of work.
No,
on a
it's
sh-
even more
on a
fun. It's a
show,
little surprise for the agent to get to that part of
That's
your
what I
reel. Yeah.
yes. Yeah, and then and then actually when you look through that, you're gonna go, "Wait, this person wrote Denzel and they didn't put it up
Yeah.
front?
No, seriously. It's about
This must be
mystery.
normal for them."
Think of it as dating, It's like you want to be a little enticing, right? You want to be a little mysterious, of like not putting everything out there in the beginning. I love that tactic. We have to play the game too, Yeah.
Yeah.
And you should always start the reel with yourself as well. We see it on We Audition every day. We see all the reels that go up, and there's thousands and thousands of reels that don't start on them because people, and I'm guilty of this myself actually in the past, you think you need context to your reel, so you want the words coming
Right.
to you before you say online back. And that's
Yeah,
not
I
actually
I
true.
think when you showed me yours,
Yeah,
I trimmed a bit off and said,
Yeah.
"Look at it without that."
You're right.
And so please do work with someone like Natalie, or do ask a more experienced friend, because we will see, yeah, your friend will see, or a coach will see something that you're too close to.
Yeah.
And we'll sit there and go, "No, that still makes sense without that." You
Mhm.
think it didn't, but also it was unnecessarily took me out of it. But you know what? Punching in right there is beautiful.
Yeah.
People want to see your face and hear your voice straight
Yeah.
away.
Yep.
You might only have 3-5 seconds before people go on to the next file.
Yeah.
Or they
exact-
might get confused. Like,
They
what
might
if you've got a
Not know who's who.
Yeah, if you're not famous, if I'm a guy in my 40s opposite another guy in my 40s, how do they know which one's what,
Right. That's so true.
right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I didn't think about the celebrity thing. I'm going to use that because it's so true when they have it's all about your acting. That's what a team member is looking at, meaning a representation. Like they're not looking, they don't really care about, like a celebrity in it. But I love what you said earlier about production value. I'm going to start using that term because I don't know how to say it in my sessions. I'm like, just the quality, doesn't look, but I love being like the production value just looks really low.
Well, and it's interesting because a self-tape ultimately is low production value,
Yeah.
but it's
but they
within the
know it.
context of what it is. But if you
Yes.
have a network piece of work and a bad short film, I've said this before in interviews, it's really funny. When I first moved to LA, I gave my agent my reel, and they called me up and they were like, "Your reel's great, but can we make one suggestion?" I was like, "Absolutely. The student film on the front, can you put that on the end?
Mhm.
And the feature film, put it on the front." And I
Mm.
started laughing, and they're like, "Why are you laughing?" I was like, "Because the student film you're referring to is actually England's biggest TV show. And the feature film in the end was a student film I shot in LA last week."
Oh, wow.
was
Wow.
and
Yeah.
it just showed the quality of work was different.
Yeah.
So in my mind, put the biggest thing on the front, even though it looked the worst.
Yeah.
And from that moment,
Right.
we changed it.
Right.
And I booked jobs with a student film from Chapman on the front of my reel
Hmm.
when I've done bigger work.
Yeah. My client today asked me, she was like, exactly what you asked me earlier. She was like, how did you get auditions in the beginning when you had no credits? And I think things have just changed in the industry, but my original reel was a really shitty, in class we made them footage of a scene from Silver Linings Playbook.
Right.
Yeah, with me and another actor. So it was really like bad, but it was clear and you saw my acting in it. But I think things have changed. I just think things have changed because
absolutely have.
remember people used to pay those demo reel places that they still exist, I'm sure, but they'll pay $3,500 to get one produced and stuff. And I just don't think that's necessary anymore because we can see, also because of social media, like we can see your acting ability just by doing a scene in front of a self-tape wall. But if you have great footage, that trumps self-tape.
Well,
all day.
and also going back to when those real companies were at their height, is because they had a DSLR or a Blackmagic and we had nothing.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But now everyone has a 4K camera.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, is enough. Yeah,
Yes.
it's really good.
You know, what you could have done yourself would have been terrible.
Yeah. And one thing I want to say is I feel like a lot of actors they feel really safe buying things like that. Buying workshops with casting directors, I had a few clients from New York recently and they're like, hey, they all asked me the same question. They didn't even know each other. Should I sign up for this agent manager showcase? It's a weekend in New York. It's $900. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even know that existed. But things like that, acting classes, whatever. And I think actors are really comfortable with doing that versus diving into the unknown and the fear of like getting into the rejection of sending out pitch emails and really getting an agent and manager.
I do want to say some positive things about having a show reel made though by a company, because I think what it does do is if you've got no work, you can have that day that you have to be ready and you can show up with your A game and have it done and then have some footage back.
Yeah.
Because someone like me, sometimes I procrastinate and I go on to other things and I never get around to doing the thing that I want to do. So having that date in the diary and putting that money down, make sure that I turn up with my A game. And I've done one before and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I do
Especially
get
if you
benefit
have
from
the
it.
means, right?
Yeah.
Or if you're like, hey, no, I want to do this right now. But a lot of people are struggling and they're like,
Appreciate it.
ooh, I think I should, spend $35. Also, it's probably cheaper these days.
Probably
Back
not,
then.
actually.
Really?
Yeah. That's from the price of
There's all sorts. There's lots of levels.
But I also think there's this part of it as well. We say this with our members of We Audition, right? When you sign up to We Audition, signing up, paying your money, putting your headshot up and leaving it is going to do nothing for you. Don't even bother. Because if you don't put the work into it, it does nothing. And it's the same with all these other things. A lot of actors, I think, they do busy work or they pay the money and go, right, I've done that. I've signed up for We Audition, done that. I've signed up for Actors Access, done that. And then they sit back and wait for it to come. It doesn't come. That's the start of the thing. If I book a mentor session with you, I have to actually show up, listen, and then do the things you told me.
And I actually have to change my what's that word? Not method, my like plan, because having one session with me is not enough. I think that I need to do like 3 sessions, and that's like the starting thing, because what I'm there for is accountability as well. And so they sign up and hopefully they do the work. I give them a Google Drive with all of these worksheets and templates and everything. And a few of them do email me after because I offer that, like, hey, you're welcome to reach out to me. And they will be like, I'm getting started on this. Can you look at my pitch email templates or whatever? But a lot of them don't.
Do you think that's why a vision board works? Because you've actually put it out there into the universe and said, this is a goal, rather than being embarrassed by that or keeping it to yourself?
Yeah, that's one thing of it for sure. And just creating the time and space to be like, get creative. We don't do that. We're always on our phones, scrolling. So this is definitely something that's like the phone is playing music over there and I'm over here, like creating and envisioning and feeling inspired. So I believe that you're sending a note to the universe that's like, hey, I really believe in this thing and I really want it. And here it is. And it's going to live here. And I'm going to put it in my room and like look at it every day, you know? But at the end of the day, you still have to like put the work in, obviously. What was I going to say? Listen to How I Built This by Guy Raz.
I love that show.
Because it will really inspire you, because we are businesses and we are like small businesses, right? And the amount of just absolute work that these business owners put into their careers, and it's not signing up for a, you know, something and then walking away from it. It is like days on days of failing and the work they put in and going bankrupt and starting over, you know?
Yeah, I was going to say that there's points of
Marathon.
destitution where it has to happen. The marathon thing.
Yeah, people always say it's a marathon, not a sprint, and we've heard that a lot. And I just take that on board, and I've always taken that on board.
We were talking
But-
just before we sat down to do this podcast about how some people, I feel like it's a little bit more in the social media age, but they tend to glamorize the falling into it story,
Mhm.
or I just tripped over this acting role and there it was. Why do you think people want to take away the hard work element to it in their public story?
Mhm.
Is it fun or glamorous to be like, oh, I just fell on my lap?
I don't know what fun that is. I don't know why they do that.
Do you see people do that? Because I do.
Sometimes, I mean, again, I kind of feel like there's not a lot of stories out there of the 10 years of hard work behind the overnight success. So maybe you're right. Like they aren't sharing that part of it.
They want people to feel they had the magic it.
Yeah, maybe that's
talent.
what it is. The talent. I mean, that's why I created Ground Up. My podcast is literally that reason. I was like, I want to know the ground up stories of my guests are everyday people, but it was also important to me to have guests on that have been series regulars and things like that, so we can see what it looked like. So they're not like not booking, but they're not Jennifer Aniston. So that's what the podcast is. It's getting their story from the ground up. And yeah, I don't know why people would, maybe they want it to seem like it was seamless. I'm not sure, but I think people don't fail enough. It sounds cliche, but I think people maybe listening to this can resonate with that. Like, you need to like fall on your ass if you want to be very successful. Like, you know,
There's a phrase, isn't there, that success is failing often and quickly.
yeah, yesterday.
And also, you're only a failure if you give up. If you keep going, you haven't failed yet.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, I've been on 700 auditions. I don't think that, and I've booked 14 of them. I don't think that's 680.
Is that your numbers for real?
Yeah.
Do you track your numbers like that?
No, I just do it like standardly. I go by like yearly and then I average it out. I did this year, I counted, because I did a podcast episode about it called like how many auditions I went on this year and how many I've booked. And I filmed it in July, and I think it was 70 total, 40 being theatrical. And I was filming from January to May in other states. So I wasn't, well, no, if I got an audition, I was putting it on tape. But it's been the slowest year history of.
I was going to ask that
been
next
pursuing.
is, has it changed in the last few years?
Yeah.
In a better or worse way? Because your career's gone up. So have your auditions gone up, or have they gone down, or are they?
So, well, I just want to say that I've gone on 70 auditions this year, and I've booked theatrically and commercially 70 combined. I booked one theatrical out of my 40, and I booked 2 commercials that I got recast in one of them because of a scheduling conflict. Went to the fitting for Progressive, like my dream national commercial. Went to the fitting, everything, and I was flying out the day after the shoot to New York to film, and they were
Film Progressive.
No, sorry, I was fitting here in LA, and then I was filming here the next day for Progressive, and I was flying out on a red eye that night to New York to film something else. And I know it sounds like, oh, big problems to have, you're filming, but like, look at my numbers. Like, they really land on the same day. Like, I've been auditioning. So they had to recast me because it rained. And they had to move the progressive shoot to Monday. And I was filming on Monday on a network television show. I can't move that around.
Sorry.
So I got recast. Like, I mean, we're a dime a dozen. So immediately. And then I booked a Home Depot National and booked it. My agent calls me and they cut the spot entirely. And then I was just on a Veil for State
So
Farm.
you filmed it, you shot it, didn't get
No.
any residuals.
No.
They didn't cut it. Do you not get paid in that instance?
No.
Yeah.
I did weirdly get like a day rate.
Day rate.
Yeah.
That was like probably $100, right?
Kind versus had to, right?
My agent is on it. It's probably contractual
Right.
that you have to.
Yeah, because it's, I know how I've done a few commercials here, and this is part of, the union stuff. You can do a commercial that is a massive brand, and then it never comes out.
Yeah.
All you get is your day rate.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I did one once that came out on Super Bowl Sunday.
And it aired once.
It aired once.
Yeah.
And I had I had a famous actor next to me watching it. We were watching a big Super Bowl party, and he looked at that and he's like, "Wow, you're gonna buy a house off that, bro." Nope, I barely bought dinner.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
aired once,
Exactly.
and the one time
Dinner in LA.
is included in their day rate. It has to play more than once for it to get residuals.
Oh my God, that's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean the stories
That
go.
might have changed now. This is a few years ago, but
No.
at the time that was what it was.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
Yeah.
It's a record breaking slow time in our industry, and I do encourage my clients to read up on some things going on. There's a lot of mergers. There's AI did not protect the middle low actors. It only protected the 1%. So there are a lot of things at play here that is making it like very, very slow. So yes, I've had less auditions than ever. Is it a problem for me to get auditions because of my credits? No. Like if there's something that's right for me, my client or my agent is like, this is Natalee from Tell Me Lies. She's perfect for this, blah, blah, blah. So I don't have an issue, but it doesn't help me when there's less roles out there. And a lot of lead actors are taking heavily recurring guest stars right now because there's so little roles.
There's a waterfall effect, isn't
Uh-huh.
there? So a big superstar from film could go
Mhm.
and step into television, and likewise
Yes.
all the way down.
Yes.
I mean, I
And-
saw this the other night. I watched a film Saturday night about the Saturday Night Live, and
Big stars in it.
what the big star from Stranger Things, which is arguably one of the biggest TV shows
Yeah.
Netflix ever done, plays at best a featured role
In the Saturday
in
night.
Saturday Night. He's in like
Yeah.
2 scenes.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that role would have usually gone to somebody not famous, not that experienced.
Exactly. And it's so funny too, because it's like, even let's like take out this 1% or like super famous or like Euphoria, take me, who's like, I would say I'm a working actor and I'm a working actor, but there's a level above me that is not A-list. There's a level below A-list that is above me. And they are called working actors who have a name, but maybe you don't know them, but they've been series regulars on 5 different shows and they've worked a lot, okay? Those actors are taking heavily recurring roles as well. So that pushes me down a little bit. So it's really tricky, and people are definitely like, "Oh, are you getting offers left and right?" And I'm like, "No, but that's not how this industry really works. Maybe back in the day." And there's so much to talk about. There's social media. Do I need to be on social media? There's, we touched on networking and
If there's one piece of advice that you could give someone that you work with or someone relatively new to the industry but they're still working, what would be sort of a closing bit of advice that you could give to someone?
I think something that I would say is like, listen to your heart throughout pursuing this career, because I also don't want you to pursue something that is not right for you. And I think so many people's egos get in the way of like, I want to do this and I want to, like, the process, this hard part is 99% of our career. The auditioning, you have to love auditioning, period. And if you don't, that's okay. But like, this might not be for you. And that's okay too. So that's why I do journal and stuff. I discover things about myself and why I do have other endeavors and things like that. Now, acting has just always kept coming back, and year after year been a passion of mine, and I'm so grateful for that. But I want to encourage people to like listen to their heart, and if they're like, no, this acting bug is still in there, then you take these actionable steps and get in the driver's seat and make sure that you are looking out for yourself, because you're all you have every single day while pursuing this. But yeah, I would say listen to your heart.
Thank you, Natalee.
Yay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you
Thanks
guys
being
for
here.
having me.
Thanks for listening to the We Audition show. Your hosts were Darren Darnborough and me, Richard Cambridge, from We Audition, the leading professional actors community where you can connect, learn, elevate your career, and always get a self-tape reader on demand. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're a We Audition member, or even if you're not, we would love it if you could please subscribe to this podcast, as it really helps us. And if you have friends who might get value from this episode, please share the link with them. You can find us at weaudition.com or for your iPhone or iPad by searching We Audition on the App Store. See you next time.